whether that be, oh, we just lost somebody, whether that be sitting or lying or standing if you prefer. Taking a little time to arrive here. And just having some patience at the beginning of the practice. Patience to find a position to practice in. Patience to arrive fully in the body. This patience as a wisdom, really. As a wisdom and also as a act of compassion. And being compassionate at the beginning of your practice really helps this to ripple out into the rest of the practice. Noticing the weight of the body on the surfaces that it's resting upon. And simply having a sense of this weight, this sense of the body helps to move us from our thoughts, allowing the awareness to drop more deeply into the body. Almost like using the body as a counterpoint to the pull of our thoughts. Being aware of any sensations, any aliveness that we feel here. And allowing each moment to fully develop in our awareness. So we lose this sense of urgency, lose this sense of needing to rush on to the next thing. Being aware of this moment. Bringing the attention down to the feet. And if we're sitting, then we'll feel both soles on the floor. Or if we're lying, perhaps just the small pressure of the heel. Either way, feeling this connectedness with the surface beneath us and with the earth. the earth that we rest upon. We can really borrow from the stability of the earth, this sense of groundedness, this body sat or lying, resting back onto the earth. The feet on the earth, and just being aware of the how small the surface area is of the feet that we balance upon. Moving the awareness up the lower legs into the knee joints. Being curious as to the hardness and also the tenderness, the soft tenderness behind the knee joint. Moving the awareness through the large muscles in the thigh, into the sitting bones, the hips, the pelvis, all this contains. And taking the attention to the base of the spine, moving it slowly up through the spine, through the lower back, each vertebrae, just with some tenderness. Into the middle back, the upper back, and into the occipital area where the top of the spine meets the base of the skull. And you might have this sense of uplift through the spine. We're not stretching or pulling away from the seat or the surface. We're simply having this sense of gentle uplift, of ease through the spine. The head poised. And just notice if there's any tension in areas like the jaw. Just allowing the hinge of the jaw to be a little relaxed. allowing the face to be soft, noticing if there's any corresponding softening in the heart space. We're always trying not to be too rigid, but we're also trying not to be too soft so that we slump. Sort of finding this sweet spot, really. Having both this uplift and also this softening. What does that mean for each of us? We always practice with this compassion, so always knowing that we can move a little, alter our weight, change position if we need to. Bringing the attention to the breath in the body. These two beautiful anchors, the body and the breath. And just notice how the breath shapes the body, how the body is never really still. And noticing where you find it comfortable to notice the breath. This might be in a very particular area, or it might be quite spacious, noticing the whole body breathing. Having this sense wherever we are that we're all breathing together. Just in your own time, bringing this short grounding practice to a close. Little movement into the body, blinking the eyes open for a moment. Okay, so if everyone's ready, I'm coming to the second part of the practice. And this part of the practice, this meditation, is going to be on space. We're so conditioned and accustomed to noticing objects rather than space. And this meditation is going to be concerned with the relationship between the object, which will mostly be us, and the space in which we or the object exists. So coming again to the body, to the real body that sits here in a sense of groundedness, the visceral body. Seeing if we can allow the awareness to drop into the body again. Noticing sensations, the feeling of being alive. Moving the awareness to the outer edge of the body, where the body meets space. The body inhabits space, and there's also space around the body. The space in the room in which you're sat. Space above you, to the sides, beneath you. Using this space to anchor your attention. Each room will have a different quality of space depending on the objects that are within it and the relationship of these objects to the space. And allowing this sense of space to move from the room that you're in, beyond the building, into the sky, into the atmosphere. What does it feel like to reside in this space? Sense of expansiveness, of limitlessness. And we're not floating off into space, we're very much anchored in the body. We're resting our awareness in the space. And now let's consider the space that's contained within the body itself. Space between organs. the space that's needed for the respiratory system, the nasal space, throat, trachea, bronchus, lungs, space that the diaphragm needs to move. Space within our body is just as important as the physical structures within our body. And seeing how this changes how you feel, having an awareness of the space rather than the objects. Are you able to notice any space around sensations? We're generally not a solid block of sensation. There's nuance, there's change. Even with pain, it will alter. I'm seeing if you can have this detailed awareness of any space between sensations. Moving the awareness to the breath in the body. But instead of noticing the breath itself, noticing the pause at the end of the exhale before a new breath begins. Notice this space. Noticing the relational quality of the space and the breath. The space isn't always the same. It's not the same length. What does it feel like to reside in this space? Bringing our awareness now to sound. The sound of my voice, sounds in your room, sounds outside of your room. but rest the awareness on the space between the sounds rather than the sounds themselves. Music and poetry and conversation are made up of sounds, but also spaces between sounds. Nothing would really make sense without the space. Noticing the quality of the space. Moving the awareness now to thought. Seeing if you can notice the space around thoughts, the space between thoughts. Might it change the content of the thought by noticing the space? Perhaps there's a sense of calmness or expansiveness by noticing space. And if ever the practice feels a little too esoteric, just remembering that the body provides this very solid anchor. We have so much profound space within us, around us, beyond us. We're tuning into the places that we can sense space being present. spaces between the edges, between the beginnings and the ends. How is our experience changed if we notice the space rather than noticing the object? I'm just going to read a very short excerpt from a writer called Masumoto. This is the interval which gives shape to the whole, the fundamental time and space from which life needs to grow. It is filled with nothing but energy and feeling. It speaks of silence as opposed to sound, of lack as opposed to excess. It is the momentary pause in speech needed to convey meaningful words, the silence between the notes that makes the music. It reminds us to slow down, to fill time and space not with things, but with meaning and purpose. And just in your own time, bringing this meditation to a close. There's no rush, just taking your time, bringing some movement into the body. Thank you everyone for practicing.